This week was such a intense week of deep excavation, and something has been moving through my heart in the recent months, and I feel like what I said in the class, that sometimes we revisit the past not to live there, not to go back and settle ourselves there, but to reclaim the knots that were tied and that hold our breath so closed, and our hearts and our beliefs and in our mind. And I feel today I really want to share something with you, and there are quite a few things that happen, but something that really I have known in my life, partly mentally, but I don't think I have ever truly emotionally digested it and processed it. So my father died when I was 9 years and 9 months. He died a couple of days before Christmas. And I remember, and then this memory came to me a few months ago, that really undone something in me. We were sitting at the table. It was quite late. It was a very hot room because the stove was going on. There was a lot of people. And I do remember my cheeks being very, very red and sitting at the table. And at one point, my mother's brother, one of her brothers, goes to my mother and says these words. He says, "Oh, like my sister, don't you worry. Things are not going to be easy, but you have to focus on your son. Your girls are sheep anyway, they will go, but your son will stay. You focus on him." And I remember hearing those words and getting up and saying to my uncle, "I'm not sitting at the same table with you." And I just went out of the house, and I feel there was like this instinctive response in me that something felt so wrong, like hearing that. And I feel, what a weird thing to speak in front of the child. Like, of all the things that you could have said. And I feel I really had to understand this life of mine. And I feel what I got that night, like what I really got, is that you are alone. That, when your father dies, you are so little. We were so little. And I feel I was literally told that night, nobody's going to look after you. You have to look after yourself. You are on your own. You will never have that protection. So to have my father buried on that day, and then to hear that at night, and obviously my mother was in grief and broken, but there was nobody who stood up or protected. I speak for myself. I come of, family of 8 children, 7 girls and 1 boy. And I remember I walked out on the balcony that night, and it was snowing. And when it's snowing, like, you look up in the sky and you feel like you are flying. And I was just wondering, like, first of all, wondering what happens where people go when they die. Where are you? Like, where is my dad? And the ground. It was just such a weird night. And I feel that is really the night that I have formed this person to be so reliant just on myself. And this has been a big part of my life. So I wrote this poem. The Home of Silence and Wind. I was born into a house made of stone-carved bricks and mortar, solid, unmoving, proud. But it did not hold me. It did not protect me from the grief when the world shattered on the night we buried my father. I was 9 years old and 9 months when I stood on the balcony with my warm tears melting down the cheeks with the cold snowflakes. And I tasted the abandonment and isolation from those I had hoped would protect me. I felt something erupt in my child's mind, a boulder, a truth, as clear and cold as the wintry night, that I belonged only to myself, that this depth of pain was to be carried alone. And the sky above me gave me what sky always gives: light, stars, wind, silence, and the wonder of endless edges. But the house gave me no warmth on that night, no protection, no arms around my aching heart. And that night, pain opened a cavern in my chest so wide, and my innocence was lost to the silence that echoed inside it. Something in me collapsed inward, a silent implosion. It was the kind that breaks you so quietly, and you never notice. You've been walking with a hole in your heart until the river of grief passes through it again. So I wandered into the vastness, searching for the deserts, to listen to that which could only be heard in the depth of solid silence. I wandered with no map, only the pull of something deeper, something untamed and unnamed, something that felt like freedom. I walked through veils of love and its undoings, through the birthing of my boys, through the avalanches of grief and loss. And I have kissed enough cold foreheads that death touched, knowing the time is precious to speak the truth. Through hope that danced, then shattered, then rose again, I carried sorrow like bricks of pearls, stacking them not into walls but into wisdom, my prayer beads. And at the back of my ribcage, I hold them. And now I'm walking on the cliff by the ocean, rising before the sun. The wind, as it emerges from the darkness into the daylight, wraps around me like an old friend, and memories like dewdrops reflect with clarity. And I stop to pause to feel into my own heart and to stand so close to a raven, its gurgling croak rising in pitch and seeming to come from the back of the throat, echoing through the center of heart into the vastness above like a chord of ancient and soft wisdom. It wasn't flying, it wasn't searching, it was simply being perched at the edge of sky and stone, letting the wind hold it without fear. And I stood beside it, silent, still, feeling the same wind lift me inside. In that moment, I felt a quiet, unexpected belonging in the cathedral built from invisible bricks of all that I have lived. Not in a house, but in this vastness, this breath, this truth, this presence that belongs to no land and no name, but to the soil and eternity, to the heartbeat and the breath. And I remembered I have loved these words since I was 13, when I first read them in a poem, and they tore something open inside me. And I, infinitesimal being, drunk with a great starry void, likeness, image of mystery, felt myself a pure part of the abyss. I wheeled with the stars, my heart broke loose on the wind. Pablo Neruda. And I knew, finally, with the feet on the edge of the earth, I am home. In the pulse of my heartbeat, the girl who stood on a balcony with tears and snowflakes in that silence, undone by grief, is being deeply held by the woman I have become, wrapped in the kind of love she waited a lifetime to receive. And in that embrace, both of us breathing, both of us belonging. And instead of those tears and loss, I am now pouring loving grace over my life's story. So I feel this is the power of this 5 Rhythms practice, because not this Sunday, but the Sunday before, the chaos was just so deep. I felt I was pulled back into such deep waters of my subconscious. And I feel what I am learning and what I am practicing, when these places get revealed and they come for that review, that it is so important to lean into them, soften into them, and let that pain move through us and breathe through us, because that is the only way we're going to integrate. And I feel this is my story, this is my journey, this is what recently has been showing up, and I'm consciously making room for it to rest, to be silent, to listen to those undercurrents of my being. And when I say in the class, especially recently, I've said it quite a few times, I don't think that I will ever meet anyone who will love me as much as I love myself. Because in those moments when that pain arises, I have learned to literally pour the loving grace over myself without looking for any savior, anyone to save me from myself, anyone to save me from this human condition. And that has been truly humbling. But I feel what is so beautiful for me recently is to feel these layers of softening and tenderness. So I encourage you, after these 5 Rhythms classes, which are such powerful portals for deep human alchemy, and healing to pay attention to yourself, to hold dear these moments and these places when they revisit us, and remind ourselves that we have such power to allow the past to show itself, give it what it needs, the attention, the heart, the tears, and then with grace to lay it to rest. And I feel, why is this important to do? Like, why is this work so important? Because I don't think we can truly be present when we have these boulders in our psyche holding like such huge parts of our life's force. We do this to free ourselves, to let more fresh life into us, to become more present and create the future that is healing the present and the past. So thank you so much for witnessing this, and I encourage you to honor your past and your story and those tender places when they show up, that you really make time for yourself. And as ever, I'm so looking forward to seeing you on the 5Rhythms dance floor. These maps are such incredible medicine for the times that we are living in.